Welcome and thank you for listening to the Muses of the Crystal Lotus.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Muses of Crystal Lotus. Today we're going to be touching on different subjects. First, we're going to start off with some amazing food Stephanie made this week and how we just keep trying to get her to repeat the same things she's making because they're so good. No, I know. Another topic we're going to be touching on and talking about is that November is Diabetes Month. And we are going to be talking about diabetes and the effect it has on people's lives and things you can do.
Or not do.
Or not do.
Yeah.
So I'm Shauna.
I'm Tina.
And I'm Stephanie.
Just so everybody remembers who we are. We don't want to be forgotten.
We're missing Jeannie today.
We're missing Jeannie today. Jeannie is sick.
We wish her well and hope that she gets better soon so that she can join us.
I'm sure that she will be fine. This is one of the things that happens when you fall on your face, hurt your back and your ankle, trip over your own feet.
I'm 100% guilty of that all the time.
Me too. Mine unfortunately is running into things.
You should see the T-shirt she bought me.
She didn't wear it today, but she should have.
It says that I bump into walls, I'll trip over stuff and different things, like that. And I'm like, yeah, it's me.
Yeah, but it's because what it says is that the walls don't like me.
Yeah, it's true.
The floor hates me.
Exactly.
Things like that.
It does. So I don't remember the exact quote, but it's pretty much. That's because where I had my stroke, I have balance issues. So.
Well, what's my excuse then?
Classy.
Just clumsy, that's all.
I'm using that as my excuse, okay?
Yeah, well.
I do really
my
well,
excuse
but
is I get in too much of a hurry and I don't look where I'm going, and I end up walking into counters and things like that.
It happens. Yeah. We get in a hurry a lot.
and by the way, I'm fine with my stroke. That was when I was 52 and I'm now 59, so it's been about 7 years ago. So no one worry about me on that. So, but I still have balance issues.
I still worry about you.
Well, I know. I was like, you do, sissy.
We have to worry about her because the floor does hate her.
Well, the floor's not exactly even in here either.
Well, it's not. You know how many people actually do stumble on the lifts of the floor?
We are
Here.
handicap accessible here, so we have little ramps that go from building to building, and people who are not in a wheelchair tend to not pay attention. They think they're just walking
Well,
uphill.
it's carpeted, so you can't necessarily see. I mean, I guess you can see that there is a level change.
Little ramp.
Yeah.
But when you get old like me,
And
depth
I
perception becomes a problem.
I trip on it all the time. There's one going into my office, and I'm just always tripping on it. Every day. I think at least once a day.
You know it's there, though.
I don't take my feet up.
Such a hurry.
David will say the same thing. I don't take my feet up. When I walk, I'll trip just going down the road like nothing else is there. And he's like, pick your feet up, march. And I'm like, whatever.
Well, we work very hard to make the store accommodating for everybody,
Yes,
but
we
then
do.
there's just some of us that, we know what's there, we know why it's there, and we just don't pay attention to it.
Well, yeah. So,
One of the things that you made last week was the orzo.
you missed out on so much good food.
Well, that's what happens when I have to work through the day.
I mean to tell you, we had a gourmet week.
Yes, we did.
See, you guys do this when I'm not here, okay?
But it was orzo and butternut squash and kale.
With Parmesan cheese.
With Parmesan cheese, and
And
the orzo was cooked in
Vegetable broth.
vegetable broth and roasted sage.
Oh my gosh. I don't usually, when I roast sage, I'll either A, cut it up into smaller pieces and put it on top of the whatever I'm roasting it with. Or B, when it gets dry and crumbly like that, I'll take it out. We left it in this time. And that dried, burnt, roasted sage just made the flavor. It was fantastic.
We ate on it for 2 days. And when it was gone, I was
And they
asking
couldn't
for
save
more.
money. See how selfish they are.
Frank was lucky to get a service.
Yeah. This is one of the problems with working a full-time job outside of this place.
Well, I do. I work anywhere from 6 in the morning till about 2 or 3 in the afternoon. So,
He said, make sure that next time you make it, you leave more than one serving for me. Okay.
he's lucky he got in.
He is lucky to got any because that was delicious. I think the very first day we killed 3/4 of it.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't
Two
leave
plates each.
Yeah.
The other thing that she made was stuffed pumpkins.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
I'm not
Okay,
too
listen.
bad on that.
Well, you don't like pumpkins, so
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of pumpkins. So.
I had this
Just
genius
smell
idea.
that one.
I found it on Pinterest, because that's where I get most of my recipes from. And this genius idea that I'm going to take, and I'm going to make this gourmet stuffed pumpkins. I'm going to take my pumpkins and I'm going to carve them out. I'm going to make my homemade stuffing, and I'm going to mix it with my ground sausage and stuff the pumpkin and bake it. It's going to be easy, right? I tell you what,
Apparently it wasn't. From
this-
what I'm understanding.
She's trying to video
2
it while she's
hour.
doing it.
This
Oh,
2-hour
okay, gotcha.
recipe with an hour and a half of it be cook time turned into an all-day thing.
Mhm.
I was in the kitchen from at least 2:30, and we didn't eat until 6.
Yeah.
And here I am. Well, I mean, I'm waiting on customers too, which is fine, and I just pause everything while I'm out on the floor. But I was trying to record video because I think I'm trying to get more content for Rediscover Health out there on YouTube and Instagram, Facebook. So it was suggested to me, well, when you cook, how about you record videos of what you're doing? And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Well, here I am trying to record videos, and I'm scooping out these pumpkins. And mind you, I made 4 pumpkins, so I have this carve and scoop it. Yes, they're in the fridge.
Okay, because those are good roasted.
I'm
I
carving
like
these pumpkins, and I've got my camera on, right? And so I've got this serrated knife that accidentally broke, and I'm stabbing it in the pumpkin, and I'm jarring it around, and and I look up the camera, and this knife is just waving around. I told him, I was like, I swear this is not as dangerous as it looks. And after I got the first one done, I was like, I'm not going to make you watch me do that for the rest of them, so I'll be right back.
She just didn't want you to see
It
the
was
great
a
pumpkin
mess.
massacre that she was
Well,
doing.
if it is, who were you imagining that pumpkin to be?
The pumpkin.
Uh-huh.
Just the pumpkin.
Right. Okay, sure.
It was hard. I mean, it was just hard, I guess, with the knife that I was using. I ended up breaking the knife. So,
Just be glad you're not the pumpkin.
I'll tell you a little story about another pumpkin massacre.
yeah.
When Frank and I lived up in Hannah, we had this huge pumpkin patch. And Frank was out mowing the lawn around the big garden that we had, the 1/4-acre garden. And he hit yellow jackets next.
Oh, no.
And of course they swarmed him. He jumps off the mower to get away from them, and the mower's going through the pumpkin patch, just cutting every one of them up.
All of that hard work.
All that hard work. We did manage to save a few, but most of them, the mower was very hungry that day.
Oh, man.
No
Oh.
control. So
I'm not allowed to grow pumpkins. David won't let me grow them. He doesn't want them to take over the yard. And I told him, I said, but the more stuff that takes over the yard, the less grass you have to cut.
well, that's not necessarily true.
It isn't mine.
But
I guess I'm not the one cutting the grass
you
anyway.
can
So.
keep them contained,
Yeah.
You do a raised garden off the grass,
Uh-huh.
and then you plant your pumpkins.
Mm-hmm.
And as they're doing their thing, you put little wires across like you would for tomatoes or peas, and you just drape them through. And
Because the pumpkin not
they-
getting heavy or...
yeah, get some cheesecloth. You take some cheesecloth, put it underneath the baby pumpkin, tie it to the bottom, and it's like a little stroke. And it holds it until it's ready. Yeah.
Rock-a-bye pumpkin.
We did that when we had them growing up the dog fence.
Fascinating.
It keeps them from rotting in the ground. It keeps them from spreading farther than you want them to.
All right, babe. If you're watching this somewhere, You know what to do. We're doing pumpkins next year.
Frank is very innovative when it comes to his pumpkins, his squash, his cucumbers,
Well,
Yeah.
I look forward to that because I would love to grow pumpkins.
his tomatoes too, which we had a little discussion about tomatoes this morning because, I wear very high heels. Okay.
I can't.
And his tomatoes, which are actually plants Stephanie gave us, are now growing across the walkway and up the steps to the front door. And I can't walk in the dirt with these on. So I'm trying to tiptoe over tomato.
No, it's what instead of tiptoe through the tulips, it's tiptoe through the tomatoes.
There we go.
Well, you know what? I'm glad yours are doing well because mine are dead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I had one tomato on the counter that was hidden behind some other produce. Yeah, I don't know how long it's been there. David said, "What is all these flies and gnats doing?" I said, "Well, I've smelled something. I think we need to take the trash out. I smelled something this morning before I left to work, and I started getting everything ready for lunch today and looking for my sweet potatoes, and I found this tomato. In needless to say, I think the only thing left was skin,
Mm-hmm.
and the juices were all over the counter, and it
Stunk.
oh my gosh, rotting tomatoes. I'd say is probably the worst smell I've ever smelled.
No, rotting potatoes
No,
is the worst.
I'm sure there's things.
Well, it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
It was a bad
Potatoes do the
experience.
same thing, except all that starch centers.
Yeah, it was. That's a good way to describe it. The sour. It's very sour.
Yeah. It's just yuck.
Yeah. So these pumpkins, I don't know. I wasn't impressed with the finale of the pumpkins.
That was awesome.
Probably not with all the work she put into it.
Well, I guess maybe with all the work I was putting into it, I was expecting something glorious.
And it was.
Well,
It was.
It would have been better, if I would have cooked maybe the stuffing a little bit more, like baked it a little bit more before stuffing it in the pumpkins.
No.
I felt like I don't like when I think of stuffing. I think of dry bread. I think like Mama's stuffing. Well, hers was moist, but
Did Mama not ever put the stuffing in the cavity
I
of the
have,
turkey?
no, I have never had stuffing from a turkey.
No, my mother always spread it out. She would fix it, and then she would spread it out in pans
Yeah.
and put it in the oven and baked it.
Yeah,
So it was
that's what-
crunchy on the outside, but tender on the inside.
Up north,
Mhm.
we always put it in the turkey and let it cook in the turkey, and then when the turkey was done, it has to set for a little bit before you carve it.
Mhm.
Then we take it out, put it in the can, and stick it in the oven and let it.
No, ours were dry, baked in a cookie sheet or something like that.
No, that's what Mom did. Except it was crispy on the outside, but it was very moist and stuff on the inside. The outside was.
What I was expecting was a little bit more crisp to the bread,
Mhm.
but the chicken broth that was in it, and of course being stuffed in a pumpkin, kept it very, very, very soft.
I think that's probably why you didn't care for it too much, was the texture. when you got
Yeah,
done.
it wasn't what I was expecting for stuffing.
For me, it was awesome. Frank, no complaints with Frank. The only thing that was left was a little thin layer of pumpkin,
Yeah, I mean,
pumpkin
ate the
shell.
skin. Well, I did too. I mean, I ate every bit of it. Don't get me wrong, but I was just not impressed with it. But like you said yesterday, I grew up with my mom would make two different types of stuffing. She would make the regular stuffing, which was whatever onion and celery and all that stuff, and then she would make the oyster stuffing.
Mhm.
And I love smoked oysters. Smoked oyster stuffing. When Frank mentioned,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I'd love to try that.
Smoked
Yeah.
oysters and little tiny shrimp.
And then do it different with some smoked oysters. Would you do that in combination with the sausage?
Yes.
Are you hungry yet? Because
So my mom, she would I always helped her making the stuffing. And so I know how to do it, but it makes so much. There's just me, okay? I don't know the good pad, so I haven't made it for a long time.
Yeah.
And my sisters don't really know, I think, how to do it.
well, you can make stuffing and bring it in.
Yes. You have a bunch of starving women.
That's why when it gets close to Thanksgiving, that might happen. It's every bit of it's homemade. Well, croutons are already fixed, but you mix it.
I said that I'm pretty sure that she's gotten good wear and tear in that kitchen over the past couple months. Because I'm in there cooking all the time.
I'm so happy I set up a break room.
That's the truth.
Yep.
I enjoy it. I'm actually looking forward to see what we have for lunch today.
Roasted chicken that's been on the brine for the past 24 hours.
I
With
saw sweet potatoes in there.
sweet potatoes
Roasted
and
potatoes.
greens. Yummy. I'm excited. I'm already hungry. So Thanksgiving is coming up.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Yes,
We are launching this video November 5th. So that's a couple weeks away. What is your favorite Thanksgiving dish?
My favorite Thanksgiving dish? Probably the stuffing with pecans and maple syrup and all of the veggies, the celery and onions and garlic.
All of that in stuffing?
All of that in stuffing.
I want your stuffing.
I was going to say, it sounds pretty good. I've never had
any of that in stuffing.
No, not at all.
It is so good. It's not the smoky flavor you would get with the oysters, okay, but it gives you that homemade bread woody taste of the fall.
You know what she's
My
going
drool
to
there.
do? when they post this, she's going to have to write the recipe out to post it with her.
Hey, yeah. Can we include a recipe in show notes? Sure. Ooh, look at you! You get a treat.
Hey, I'm here for a reason.
She's the genius. She's the thoughts.
I have a lot of recipes that are family recipes that go back. I don't even know how far. I have one that's like 60 generations old.
Is that your spaghetti sauce?
No, that one's much older.
Okay, so saying that's the one we don't share. That's the one no one
That's
gets.
the one no one gets. No one gets. That is generally taught to the eldest daughter of the family. Except my daughter doesn't like to cook that much. She doesn't have time.
I haven't had a chance to experience the said spaghetti sauce. I want to think that everybody else in the shop has, except for me.
Yeah, it's been a while. I might have forgotten. I might have to refresh my memory, Sean.
With those tomatoes that you still got.
Yes, I know.
We're troublemakers.
We don't have many tomatoes left. The ones that did come up, we don't have any bees in our area, so Frank has been pollinating them by hand.
We've gotten cold too.
And
It's getting chilly.
we have these huge vines that are like 6 feet tall and just bushy, so pretty, and they get little babies on them, but they really don't do much because they haven't been pollinated. No, they're just they don't ripen because they're this big, and these are tomatoes that come out this big when they get full size.
Cherries. Thought maybe with cherry tomatoes.
So what's your favorite Thanksgiving dish?
Well, I know what the favorite is that everybody wants me to make every
But
year.
no. What's
not what we want you to make.
favorite?
What is your
Not what's our favorite.
Let's see, that might be kind of hard to do. Because we make our family is such a size. We make the turkey and the ham and the stuffing and the mashed potatoes and green beans and corn. And my sister's, she makes baked beans, but they're kind of like, they're really good. Okay, I mean, I'm trying to think. They're kind of like, well, it's kind of hard to imagine because she puts like a crumble like on top and they turn out so good. Of course, all my family. My boyfriend once told me, he said, Tina, you can make something besides broccoli casserole. I said, not when that's when everybody asks me for it, right?
That is a staple at all our shop dinners.
And home dinners.
And barbecues over the summer.
Work.
Anywhere Tina's invited to that we have food.
Yeah, they asked for the broccoli casserole. They really did.
And the other thing that is on the top of the list every dinner we have here is sweet potato casserole because
That's also something that happened on every one of ours.
And that's not a sweet potato casserole with the marshmallows because, I hear a lot, people don't like sweet potato casserole because of the marshmallows.
I'm not one
use
of them.
Marshmallows, people.
I love
Don't use the
marshmallows.
marshmallows. But I do
But,
this nice
but they're
toasted
baked
one.
and they kind of melt into.
I
Okay.
mean, well, we're going to get into that because marshmallows are pure sugar. And
Well,
since
yes, but-
you are diabetic, you're not supposed to be eating marshmallows,
Well,
whether they're
I do.
dehydrated or not.
Very rarely do I eat marshmallows. Only on the
Sweet
season
potato
casserole.
casserole.
No, I'm not. Not yet. 'Cause I haven't eaten it yet. But I do dehydrate marshmallows.
Which is
Which is my weakness.
Yeah.
I don't like big fat marshmallows unless they're on the end of a
Eat it.
stick over a campfire. But dehydrated, I'll sit there and eat a whole bag of those.
They're
little
not
bitty
big
things.
ones. I use the small ones, and I dehydrate like trays.
Kinda like
And she
those,
puts flavors in them.
Oh no! I
Pepper.
buy them flavored and then dehydrate them in
It's-
season.
they remind you of
So
those
good.
the bedside mints
Yeah.
that have that nice soft texture to them.
Yes.
It's like the absolute everyone's favorite mint.
Yeah.
That's what they remind you of, except they taste like marshmallows. And they're good. And I might have eaten half a bag myself.
I know she's ate more than half.
Which is why you're not allowed to bring them back in.
That's why
Yes.
she's asking not to bring back in. Yes.
Yes,
Is what
because
it is.
nobody else really gets any when she brings in
Yeah.
the big gallon Ziploc bags, and I'm the one that's sitting there eating it. So,
Because I don't make just a little bit. I have two dehydrators at home. Imagine them both filled with.
and heaven forbid she should just make. She's got to use two.
Hey, I get on a roll here, especially when it gets toward the end of the year when they come out with all these different flavored marshmallows, the little tiny. And so I just like trays and trays.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Because you're diabetic,
Okay, I don't eat the marshmallows.
what? No.
I don't do it.
What kind of limitations do you have to put on yourself during the holidays with all this amazing food at Thanksgiving and Christmas?
It's very hard, and I don't always do very well. But I know that I have to really try. I try to do smaller portions of everything so I can have a little bit of everything. Still ends up looking a lot of food, but not like I normally would do. So I put it like a spoonful of this, spoonful of that, couple of that, couple of that. Just
And even though you're watching your portion size,
trying to.
trying to watch your portion size, does it still spike your blood sugar?
It can, depending on what I'm eating.
So
Because you got to think, if there's carbohydrates, it's not just sugar. Carbohydrates is horrible for me.
Well, all carbohydrates. Okay. All carbohydrates break down into
Sugar.
sugar molecules
Mm-hmm.
of some sort.
Yes.
Okay. So
Your
with
brain needs
carbohydrates,
sugar in order to function.
your brain needs fat too.
That's true. That's why I don't eat less than 25 a day.
So when we talk about carbohydrates, and this is one thing that really, and I'm gonna Shanghai this question real quick because this is
Go
one
right
thing that
ahead.
really kind of is
that's why
what
we have
miss.
Dr. Stevie here.
Not yet. Soon to be Dr. Stevie.
She's actually going to school for that, yes.
Soon to be Dr. Stevie. But this is one of the things about carbohydrates in the discussion of diabetes that we get kind of misconstrued sometimes. So yes, in a big, broad picture, carbohydrates are chains of carbons, hydrogens, oxygens, and when our body digests them down, they break all these chains and we get the basic molecule which turns into like glucose and sometimes fructose and one more. Anyways, so but the main contributor is glucose. That's what our body utilizes mostly for energy.
Yeah.
Not all carbohydrates are made the same.
No, they're not.
Okay, there is fiber, which is technically considered a carbohydrate, but fiber does not break down and digest and absorb to become sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Fiber stays within your digestive tract, can slow the rate of digestion for that carbohydrate, which also decreases the rate in which the glucose absorbs into your bloodstream, which reduces the glucose spike.
Mhm.
And then there are the simple sugars that are already in sugar form when you take them in. One thing that I really want to note to people, and this is, you said carbohydrates spike your blood sugar.
Yes, they do.
Not all carbs
No.
are made the same. And not all carbs will spike the same.
There's what they call a glycemic index
Correct.
that tells you how this can break down into how quickly they can go into.
Vegetables are carbs.
Yes, they are.
Fruits are carbs. Beans have carbs. Whole grains have carbs. Now,
I got a comment here to make.
Okay.
Other than proteins and fats, pretty much everything else breaks down into sugar in the bloodstream, in the body.
minus fiber.
Minus fiber, yes. But I'm just saying that it drives me nuts when I hear, oh, I'll never be a diabetic. I don't eat sugar. Oh, please,
Oh,
people.
but yet you do.
Sit down and let me tell you something. You know,
Right.
that's not how it works.
It's because most people
well-
don't realize how much sugar there is in the products that we buy at the store.
Even
Well,
if it's
and then-
sugar free,
Think
It's
about
still got a substitute.
yeah.
well, and the sugar-free stuff is, in my opinion, way worse than any regular sugar because that's an artificial chemical that we have not
Like aspartame.
linked to Parkinson's and neurological disorders. It tricks the body
I
into
try
thinking
not
you're
to
getting
ask
regular
at all.
sugar. You still have the same responses, even though there is no sugar. It can increase your risk of diabetes. Like, it's just not.
Unless you're someone like me who has genetics involved. Mine is mainly, my mother is the eldest of 8
What?
children.
Genetics?
I know, but I'm saying this is what the
No,
boys
I know what she did. She moved the wrong way and she's got
No,
Keep talking.
yeah, she's one.
genetics.
Yeah,
Oh,
genetics.
okay.
This is what I've been told all along. Now I know that you say it can be cured, okay?
Not cured.
But
We don't use the word cured.
that's right, we don't. But I've been told because my mother was the oldest of 8, 7 of them were diabetic, 1 was hypoglycemic, which means that's a precursor to diabetes. And my great aunt on my mother's side, she lost both of her legs to sugar. I was 3 years old. I remember that. And I told my mom that one day, and she said, Tina, you can't remember that. You were only 3. And I'm like, okay, what I just told you, because I told the story, was I wrong? And she was like, oh, no. I'm like, there you go. I said, but I thought that when they said sugar,
The mind of a child.
oh, no doubt. And
They remember everything.
she said, well, you said it was a hospital. She said it was actually a nursing home. I said, it had a hospital feel. She goes, well, it did used to be a hospital before they converted it to a nursing home. I said, see? Well, okay. And she had a hard time thinking I would remember something from 3 years old. But the thing that got me is when they said sugar in a 3-year-old's mind, I thought they meant table sugar. I didn't know what diabetes was at that time. I just knew it was a problem. And my dad was the youngest of 4, and 2 of them were diabetic. So I kind of had this, what they said, a bullseye painted on me. So
Yes.
there
Genetics.
we go. Does play
Genetics
a part.
plays a part. We have genes for certain things.
Yes.
And when you have disorders and dysfunctions in the family, then yes, okay, so you will have a gene for that. Does that mean that gene is going to be activated? Does that mean that you are going to absolutely 100% have that disorder or condition? No.
Okay, that's true.
No.
And
it
along the
doesn't.
lines too of like where my youngest sister had breast cancer. Okay, here is a gene for that.
Yeah, there is a gene for that.
But I've been tested, and so have all my sisters and such. None of us, even the girl who had breast cancer, has that gene.
Environmental and lifestyle factors
Yes.
play a role in genetic expression. So what that means is that we might have the gene, okay?
Mhm.
Let's say we all have a gene. Okay, you have a gene for diabetes. Let's say you have a gene for cancer, and let's say that I have a gene for Alzheimer's.
Everyone's really basically has a gene for
Technically
cancer.
we do.
It's just it's
Well, I
just
mean,
what
right,
activates
Well,
it.
okay.
Mhm.
So it's a switch. We've got a switch,
Mhm.
okay, and it's off. If there is a certain environmental or lifestyle factor that doesn't agree with your body, or that we're doing wrong, or nutrient deficiencies, or chemicals like aspartame, things like that we're consuming in our lifestyle, boom, we flipped a switch. That gene is now on, and then it progresses from there. All genes, just because we have them, doesn't mean we're going to have the disorder. But
Exactly.
here's the caveat, okay? Here's the caveat. In previous episodes, we've talked about Joe Dispenza and Joe Dispenza's work.
Mhm.
and how much the power of the mind plays on our body,
Mhm.
right? Okay, and the placebo effect. And so how much, truly believing and understanding that we can get better, we can heal ourselves, that placebo effect can, manifest into healing.
Mhm.
It works the same way with disease. Okay? I have this gene. Which means I'm going to get it. I'm going to have Alzheimer's. Sorry. I'm going to get sick because my family had it. I'm going to get it. 100%. Blah, blah, blah. What did you just do?
You just
All of your life.
Manifested.
All of your life, you have just sat and manifested what is going to happen to you
Mhm.
in your mind. You have told yourself over and over because you believe you have this gene, which you do. You may.
Everybody has gene. I mean, the basic DNA strand of all humans is
Which is why it
the
is
same. It's
critically important to make sure you listen to the commentary you give yourself, and that goes in all aspects of your life. That goes for all aspects, including self-talk around body image. Man, that's a big one.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go to somebody in the hallway and say, "Honey, you fat."
No,
No,
don't.
you wouldn't do it.
There would be some people who would do that.
Well, most people
Most people
wouldn't. But yet we go and we look at ourselves in the mirror and we just call ourselves so many ugly, nasty things, and we say so many bad things to ourselves that we just really wouldn't say to anyone else. And we have to listen to our own dialect, our own commentary. What are we saying to ourselves?
My biggest one is whenever I would make a mistake, because I do the books and stuff at the store, and whenever I would make a mistake, it was like, "Dummy, you're so stupid. You know better than to do that." And then I started realizing, sometimes I make a lot of mistakes. Depends on how tired I am. And it's like, you got to quit doing that, because the more you do that, the more mistakes you're making. So, yeah, you have to catch yourself when you're criticizing yourself, when you have something that you know you're going to be stuck with. You cannot sit there and go, "Well, it's going to kill me one day anyway."
Or
I love how you guys are reaching
hold on.
over and just
Or-
tapping me and touching me during this commentary.
Or are we stuck with type 2 diabetes?
I found out when I was 37, which means I was diabetic before then, but I don't know when it turned. They say type 2 is supposed to be an old person's disease. Don't believe it, because I was definitely not what I consider to be old.
No. Children, it is now becoming an all ALL person disease, because children are getting increasing rates of type 2 diabetes. And this is
Used to be
mostly
they
type
only
2
got
diabetes
type 1.
conversation. This isn't type
My
1.
granddaughter was 14 or 15 when she came into our family. And
Oh, I know who
she already had diabetes.
Yeah.
That turned type 2. And children's diabetes is harder to deal with,
Yes, because
because it sets you apart from all your peers.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about, we're going to go get ice cream. You want to come? Well, I can't really eat ice cream.
There's a
yes,
mental
but she
part.
still
and there's a
did
mental thing
because
too.
she wanted
So,
to be like everybody
age
else.
is not a factor with this disease.
No.
It hits everywhere.
It does.
Now hers, I was told that hers came on as traumatic diabetes because of something that happened. I think it was when her mom and dad got divorced or something. But I had never heard of traumatic diabetes before that. I didn't think that a trauma in someone's life could trigger it.
Yeah. But
But apparently it does.
Another form of diabetes that I had just recently heard of is hepatogenous diabetes. It's a big.
I don't know that.
It's induced from liver dysfunction.
Really?
Yes. Well, your liver plays a primary role in your regulation of. I mean, your pancreas makes the insulin, but your liver
is what
processes
regulates
everything and regulates it and stores it away, converts it and stores it away for later, and so forth, so forth. So if you're having liver dysfunction, alcoholic liver, fatty liver, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is pretty much due to sugar for the most part, And then
Guess what?
we'll get there in a minute. Cirrhosis, liver failure, liver transplants, all of the things that have to do with your liver can also cause you to have diabetes. So,
Doctor says, shut up and look at
I do have a little bit of a fatty liver too. So
fructose.
I've been trying not to eat a whole lot.
That'll be a whole nother conversation.
Yes.
We can do a whole other conversation on that. So this would be a good time to shamelessly self-promote, right? So if you find this conversation interesting in regards to blood sugar and type 2 diabetes, and the way that sugar affects our body, if you're more interested in also nutrition and holistic lifestyle tips that can help you manage your type 2 diabetes, I'll say manage, I won't say the other word that I want to say. We have a class coming up on November 12th, I do believe, at 6 p.m. That is the Sugar Blues, because, obviously, that's what it is, right? Type 2 diabetes. You have sugar blues?
No, I get
sugar blues.
Oh my gosh. There are sometimes I want something sweet so bad, but I refuse to buy the cookies, the cakes. I refuse to buy the candies. Even they say, oh, just take so much, like a bag of, like Hershey Kisses, then just eat 2 or 3. They're a little bit, and they'll satisfy that taste. But I know that bag is there.
Listen.
Nobody can eat 2
So,
or 3 kisses.
Speaking of that, there is this interesting topic that I want to cover with you, and we'll cover in future episodes, outside of this episode, that I'm going to also introduce into the blood sugar class, and that's how to introduce intuitive eating into the management of type 2 diabetes, so that there are certain things that you can still eat and enjoy and manage the blood sugar at the same time.
Okay, when you talk about like with eating and such, a diabetic has to look at what they eat a little bit differently than everybody else.
Absolutely.
Okay? Because milk will raise my blood sugars as quickly as orange juice will.
Got lactose in it.
Hey, I know, but
Lactose
I'm
is
just
sugar.
saying, a lot of people won't think that though.
Yeah.
But milk will raise it just as quickly as a glass of orange juice for me.
And milk, let me ask, milk will raise it more than cheese,
Yes.
because milk has more lactose in it than cheese does. Right. Yeah.
And, when you look at like vegetables, people think peas and corns and beans, they're vegetables. To me, they're a carbohydrate that I can't.
Well, they're
Green beans and different things like that, they're vegetables, but you gotta look at corn,
starchy
peas,
vegetables.
potatoes.
Starchy vegetables. If we can reframe the carbohydrate, okay, I think this is also something that would be beneficial to
Cheese.
people with diabetes.
Is considered a protein instead of dairy.
Is reframing food groups.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we think protein, fat, carbs, protein, fat, carbs. There's so much more than just protein, fat, and carbs, because those categories are so macro that they don't thoroughly explain what falls into each group. So if we could reframe thinking vegetables, for example, instead of under carbs as a whole, but instead non-starchy vegetables versus
Broccoli,
starchy vegetables.
beans, cauliflower,
Because then
and then over
we
here,
can say, okay,
corn, beans.
we're able to have a
Peas.
conversation more about vegetables, and then know that the starchy vegetable category are the limiting factors, but the non-starchy vegetable category are the unlimited factors. Eat the hell out of some kale.
I love my broccoli.
kale.
Well, if you would have
I
came
love
from dirt to delicious, you would have learned how to cook kale in a way that you'd like it. So,
Well, here's another question that I have. Okay, I know that the sugar levels and such and what you eat affects your body. I also know that the glucose levels also affect your mood.
And your eyesight.
And your eyesight, but your mood. Now, one of the things I was reading about this is that there is a point with the glucose that can cause a rage. Have you ever had that happen?
not rage.
Depression, yes. Anxiety.
I
Those
haven't really
kind of
had it. But you know what really gets me with everything is that I can be perfect. I can be eating what I'm supposed to, taking my insulin like I'm supposed to, taking all my medicines. Because I take insulin 4 times a day. Okay. Just so you know. And plus, I have a couple tablets, pills that they give me as well. So, unfortunately, it's one of those. But you can be doing everything right. You can be exercising and doing all this because this help regulates and keeps it down. But your emotions, I get upset, my blood sugar goes through the roof.
So here's an article that I found on that.
And I can be doing everything perfectly.
And I'm just
I
going to
can't
read a little
control
bit of it here. So during stressful situations, epinephrine, which is adrenaline, glucagon, growth hormone, and cortisol play a role in blood sugar levels. Stressful situations, including infections, serious illness, and significant emotional stress, can manipulate the blood sugar. So, when stressed, the body prepares itself by ensuring that enough sugar or energy is readily available. Insulin levels fall, glucagon and epinephrine levels rise, and more glucose is released from the liver. So that means in a stressful period of time, that fight or flight response, your blood sugar goes up.
Oh, I know
Because
that for a fact.
you have to have energy. Sugar is a key component, glucose is a key component to making ATP. Okay? And ATP is energy. So when you're getting ready to run from the tiger, right? Or fight the tiger, whichever, your body needs the energy to do that. And so that cortisol from stress will push extra sugar from your liver into your bloodstream so that you can fight the tiger and have enough energy to fight it or run from it, which are the two.
I'll tell you later
Run.
what first popped into my mind when you said
Okay.
that.
So then there's a caveat, or I love the word caveat. That's my favorite word today. There's an addition, should I say. Not really a caveat, an addition. When you have type 2 diabetes, low blood sugars from too much medicine or insulin are a common cause of additional stress.
Okay. I admit I made one mistake.
Don't
one
argue
time.
with her.
I'm not. I'm just going to make it. I made a mistake one night because I was
We'll
supposed
be
to
going
take.
into a second episode without a break.
I have to take fast-acting insulins 3 times a day with my meals. At night, I take one slow-acting before I go to bed. I made a mistake one night. I have them both sitting on the end table next to my bed. So I went to take my slow-acting insulin, and I got distracted with something I was doing, and so I just reached over and got it, took it off, put the cap on, rolled it up to the dosage I was supposed to take, which was 46. Okay, rolled that up. Okay, and I got ready. Then I took it. I have to do it in my stomach because they said this is bad. Give insulin in your stomach with your fat. Okay, so yeah, guess what? Right here. Anyway, so I did that, and when I took it out, I opened my hand. The band was orange, which is my fast-acting insulin. And I about had heart failure because I looked at that and I thought, I just gave myself 46 units of fast-acting insulin, and this is for me going to sleep at night, and my blood sugars drop through the night anyway. And so when I did that, I thought, I'm going to bottom out. So I went in there and got the biggest glass of milk I could find and drank that before I went to bed. Of course, my doctor says, why didn't you call me? Because I told her. I was honest, and I told her what I did. But I only did it once. And I told her I did. She said, why didn't you call me? I said, well, it's 11 o'clock at night. She goes, I don't care. You call me when you do something like that.
And that's important to note to make sure that if you are on medication, if you have type 2 diabetes, and you're making holistic lifestyle choices to help you manage your blood sugar, that you have a plan of action with your primary care physician or the physician that is in charge of writing your prescriptions so that you don't drop too low because your medication is still set at a level that is for old eating habits or old lifestyle habits instead of new changes that you're making. So please make sure that you're always communicating with your primary care physician when you're making changes to your lifestyle or your diet and on any kind of medications so that you have a plan of action before making those changes.
A lot of people think, well, all I'm doing is just changing my diet a little bit. It shouldn't affect it.
With type 2 diabetes, the
You have to
diet
still talk
affects
to your
it
doctor
all.
first.
Yes.
Primary
So-
care physician first before you make any drastic
Absolutely.
changes.
In
drop
my
diet
case,
or
being
any of that.
diabetic, endocrinologist.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
Not just the primary doctor. My primary doctor and my endocrinologist. When I did that, my endocrinologist said, "Why didn't you call me?" It was the first time I'd ever done that. So it's like hot night. She goes, "I have an answering service after hours for such as this. Not just this." She goes, "You're not really old. Why did you do that?" I was distracted and didn't pay attention to which one I got a hold of. But I opened my hand and saw that. I was like, oh my God. So,
Miss Kitty was in your face again, wasn't she? She has a cat that can't stand when she ignores her.
I think they're both like that, if you ask me.
I think all cats are like that.
So are some dogs.
Yeah. Yeah, JT for sure.
I'm sitting at my vanity this morning getting dressed. And Frank came in, sat down at the chair, and we were talking about just different things. And here comes JT with his, I don't know, it's one of those floppy toys. It's a weasel, but it's got no stuffing in it. Comes in, throws it at Frank's feet. Frank looks at it. We're back to talking to me. JT goes out of the room, comes back in with his ball, drops it at Frank's feet. Frank looked at it, kicked it with his foot, went back to talking to me. He goes out and gets his little donut.
Somebody pay attention to me.
Which toy do you want to play with me with? And this is a norm on Saturdays. So by the time I get up and I'm ready to get ready to work, I've got every one of his toys is sitting in a half circle around my mantel.
Somebody play with me. Please play with me.
I don't care who plays with me. Somebody please play with me.
Bless his heart.
It's so funny. But you have to understand now, JT is very needy and very jealous. So if Daddy's paying more attention to me than to him, he makes himself known either by jumping up on his lap or if he's on the couch, he'll get up behind him and put his paws over his shoulder and start gnawing on his ears. It's hysterical to watch him. But we all understand getting distracted by animals.
Yes, we do.
Anyone who's an animal lover knows that they are the greatest time wasters there is.
Yes, we do.
We have to give you unconditional love, too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, guys, I really don't think that we touched upon everything that we were going to touch upon for this episode. So
that's
guess
just
what?
what happens.
We're just going to have a part 2.
Well, we may have a part 2.
Because there's so much more in regards to blood sugar and type 2 diabetes and lifestyle and everything that we could talk about. But for right
what
now,
symptoms to look for when your sugar's bottoming out?
that's a very good one.
I
See, we're going to
had
pick your
that.
brain again probably next week.
Next week.
We'll just continue on with diabetes awareness for the month of November. And we'll pick your brain again next time.
Gosh, it's hard to believe it's been 47, 57, 56. It's been over 20 years. It's been like 22 years now that I've known, which means I was diabetic before then.
So it'll be nice to hear some personal experience as well. And so we appreciate you for watching and listening today. I hope you have enjoyed this segment. And if you are a follower at this point, thank you. If you're watching this video and you haven't subscribed to our channel, please make sure that you hit the subscribe and like button for us so that we can continue the momentum with these podcast episodes. For more, make sure you check out our website, www.clswv.com, and like us on Facebook at CLSWV. Until next time, folks.
Bye.
Shauna, bye-bye.
See you later.
Thank you for listening to the Muses of the Crystal Lotus. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Just a reminder that this podcast is for educational purposes only. This podcast is not a substitute for professional care by a doctor or other qualified medical professionals. By listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this podcast as medical advice to treat any medical condition in either yourself or others. Consult your physician for any medical issues that you may be having. This entire disclaimer also applies to any guests or contributors to the podcast. Under no circumstances shall the Crystal Lotus Shop, any guests or contributors to the podcast, be responsible for damages arising from use of this podcast. Until next time, healthy blessings.